Welcome back to the channel. I'm very happy to have you here. I wanted to pop by. I was having a conversation with a couple of friends of mine a little bit earlier, and we were talking about, narcissists, actually. I was talking to her about, have you ever had that, person in your life that it just seems like everything just keeps going wrong for them, and it's not their fault, it's never their fault, but everything just keeps happening to them, and but it's never their fault, and oh, woe is me kind of types sometimes. And though I've been listening to a lot of Dr. Ramani, and she was talking about there's a possibility that you could be dealing with what she calls a vulnerable narcissist. And that's one of those people that, like I said, it just seems like everything's going wrong. They're constantly complaining about it, and yet they don't seem to want to do anything to fix it. It seems like every time that you have a suggestion or advice or something like that, they always seem to have an excuse as to why they can't try it. It's I've experienced a lot of people like that before. I mean, there are valid reasons, that you couldn't do something, but when somebody gives me a suggestion or advice about something that I'm complaining about, I'm like, that might not be a bad idea. My grandma used to say, don't knock it till you try it. So I stick with that. I'm just like, you know what? I'll try it. I mean, I usually say I can use all the help I can get, but I still think there's no help for me. But yeah, one of the things I was talking to my friend about is Dr. Ramani said that when dealing with a narcissist, sometimes you got to go deep. Now, DEEP is an acronym for the way that you can handle this. Now, you have no control over anyone else. I mean, I believe that control is an illusion anyway, but you really have no control over anybody else, But when confronted with a narcissist, especially one that screams at you, I mean, this happened on my birthday. I got home late and wound up getting screamed at in front of everybody. And she sat there and she was just like, I'm not planning any more birthdays ever again. And I just kind of went, okay, and walked away. And I got that from that DEEP method. D stands for defend. I had to think for a second. Now, these are the things that you don't want to do. So don't, I guess I should say don't go deep. So don't defend, engage, explain, or personalize. So D, you don't want to defend. The problem is Greg taught me a long time ago that once the yelling starts, the listening stops. So defending yourself, explaining yourself, anything like that. Now, granted, that is a trauma response, to defend yourself and stuff like that, because they've attacked so many times. You feel like you're actually under attack. So don't defend yourself. because they're not going to hear it anyway. And honestly, they live for that reaction. They want these reactions from you, which is why you don't engage at all. I mean, like I said, they feed off of these reactions. They want these things. So you don't engage at all. Just leave it. It's if anything, say, I'm going to wait until you calm down. If you even want to go that far. I mean, like I said, with the person that was screaming on me on my birthday, I just said, okay, and walked away. And it was, she got upset, but she didn't yell at anybody else. She was sitting there grumbling as she walked into the other room, but she didn't yell at anybody else. So essentially, I just kind of shut her down in front of everybody. And so I didn't engage at all. I knew she was just frustrated because, her plans for my birthday got ruined. But don't try to even explain yourself. And that's the other E. Explain. It's just like defending. They're not going to hear it. They just want that reaction from you. They want that attention, and unfortunately they kind of go about the wrong way of getting it, right? But explaining yourself even is, like I said, it's a trauma response. It's a defense. You've been attacked so many times that you feel that urge to defend yourself or explain yourself or something to that effect. They're not even going to hear it. They're not going to listen to reason. You got to remember what people think of you has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them, which is personalize. Don't personalize it. In all actuality, they're feeding off of that response, or they want that. They're projecting. They're trying to push their feelings onto you instead of actually taking accountability for their own feelings, their own reactions, their own actions, period. Now, I mean, when you defend and explain and stuff like that, it's I was listening to a podcast on Surreal Mind. They talk a lot about Carl Jung, and he was talking about stop apologizing for existing. We do that so many times, especially the people pleasers like us. We want to we apologize because we feel like we're a burden or we're in the way or something like that, because that's what we were taught. On a side note there, I just had a customer come in and we were talking about being superstitious, and my grandma used to call it stupid-stitious. But he said, I usually tell my kids, I'm not superstitious, I'm just regular stitious. I thought that was cute. But, yeah. Now, Carl Jung even, that's one of the parts of awakening, is recognizing your worth and understanding that you are not a burden, okay? And, I mean, honestly, if you are, they'll stop calling you. And those people will work their way out of your lives. I mean, one of the things that I told my friend was that it's gonna hurt for a while. When you start standing up for yourself, you're going to lose a lot of people who don't like that. They don't like you standing up for yourself. But it's probably a good thing to lose them then, right? You deserve to be surrounded by people who love and support you. You deserve to have, the people that want to see you succeed and grow. So, unfortunately, sometimes because your time is valuable, you kind of got to get rid of the people around you that really aren't helping you in that. The people who don't care to listen to you, don't care to, they actually get upset or jealous when you succeed or grow. I mean, those really aren't the types of people that you deserve. And I mean, I'm not saying like completely cut them out of your life, because I know that's extremely hard. I've had to do that. And I mean, there were some people that I thought I could, at least like, I'll still be friends with them, but I can soul disconnect. The thing is that most of the time when you do that, like I said, they usually wind up working their way out of your life anyway. So, and like I told my friend, it's gonna hurt. I'm sorry, but you have to do it. It's like getting Moldavite, it will get rid of a lot of things in your life that are not serving you. But that's the thing, is that they're not serving you anymore. I mean, I had to work very, very hard just to get to the point where I am surrounded by people who are not intimidated by me or my success or my growth or anything like that. And I had to work hard for it. I had to do a lot of shadow work and, figuring out, like, why do I keep this person in my life? Is it really benefiting me, or is it more I'm comfortable with them? You got to figure out that, because your brain will crave comfortability, even if it's bad for you. Sometimes, especially if it's bad for you, because that's what we're used to. It's but it's not what we deserve. We deserve better. So yeah, just make sure that you don't apologize for, existing. I mean, of course you can say, I usually say, excuse me, or something like that, but I've noticed a lot of people will say, I'm sorry, over the littlest things, and it's like, no, it's not your fault. It's okay. Don't worry about it. And you need to surround yourself with those types of people that when you say, you know what, I'm breaking down, I really need to vent right now, and they're just like, okay, and they're not gonna try and they're not gonna try and make it about themselves more than anything. We deserve better than those people, honestly. So, well, if you like my style, like and subscribe. I almost forgot what it was. But, and we'll talk to you next time.